Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. My name is Shannon, and I work in the marketing department here at Directions, which, if you don't know, we are an IT and professional development training company, and we work with both individuals and organizations to provide customized training. Other than that, I want to introduce you to our instructor today. We have Dan Griffin, who is one of our senior applications instructors. You guys are in great hands, and I see we've got a good amount of people filtering in. So without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Dan.
Perfect. Thanks, Shannon. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Office 365 training. We're focusing on Outlook, OneDrive, and SharePoint today. What my goal is really just to kind of show you how these things work together and present you with a workflow that you can use today if you are using Office 365 to kind of help you work a little bit more efficiently between Outlook, OneDrive, and SharePoint. So the first thing we're going to do here, or I'm going to do, is I'm going to log into Office 365 just by opening up a web browser and going to Office.com. One of these windows. Oh, I should point out something about our training environment. I heard somebody found the little thumbs up button there, and I appreciate you doing that. I will check in with you guys as we go through the training just to see if we're on the same page. If you do have questions, you can type them in the chat box as we go through the training. I'd be happy to answer them for you as the questions come up. But you should also see some interaction buttons at the bottom of the screen. I think they're at the bottom of your screen. In any event, you should see like a green thumbs up, red thumbs down. There's a smiley face, there's a raise hand button, and then there's I think those are the main ones. Just go ahead and click one of those buttons just so I can make sure that you're able to find them. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So just so y'all know, when you do click them once, it does activate them. It plays a little alert on my end, but it keeps them active. So if you do click it, you can always click it one more time, which turns it off. So it's like a toggle switch, basically, just so y'all know. Okay, perfect. All right, so like I said, as we're going through the course, I might have you jam a couple of those buttons just to make sure that we're all on the same page. All right, so Office.com. So if you're not sure what Office 365 is, it's Office 365 in the cloud. Now, I know the cloud is a big buzzword these days. All the cloud means is that really what it means is it's accessible by the internet. So we have internet access pretty much all the time these days. And that's how we access Office 365. You can just open up a web browser and go to office.com and you are connected to all of your contents. Now, I've gone to office.com already and you'll see that I have access to all of my web apps. So Outlook is here, which means your email and your calendar and your task list and contact list is all right there for you. I have access to my OneDrive, which we're going to be working on today. I also have the ability to use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote right inside of a web browser. And what's great about that is if I'm traveling and for some reason maybe my work laptop isn't working correctly and I'm able to use a computer at a client location and maybe they don't even have Office installed on the computer they're letting me use, I can still go to office.com, check my email, get into my files, and if there's not Office installed on the computer, I can use one of the web apps to get the job done. Now there's another tool here called SharePoint. SharePoint is another thing that we're going to be focusing on today, and I want to just kind of talk about how Outlook, OneDrive, and SharePoint work together, because it's really the focus of this class is to get you to understand a good workflow on how to use these tools. So OneDrive is your own personal cloud. Congratulations, everybody. You all get your own personal cloud today. If you're using Office.com, you have access to OneDrive. If you don't have Office 365 at this point, you can still get a OneDrive account just by going to OneDrive.com, and then you'll be able to sign up for free. Okay, but that's not really going to be connected to Outlook or anything else. So it's really kind of an organizational thing here. Your organization would need to set you up with Office 365 to have all these apps connect together. But in any event, so OneDrive is your own personal cloud storage. It's your own file storage. Here are some reasons why you might want to put files in the cloud. And I'm going to demo this. You're going to see how this all works in just a second here. But the benefits of cloud storage are that, well, number one, I can access my files from anywhere. That is really important for everybody these days. As a matter of fact, I work between like 3 different computers at this point. I have my home desktop, I have a laptop that I use when I travel around and teach classes, and then I also have like a office computer when I'm at the office. So that's 3 different computers. If I create a file on one computer and I save it to the desktop or documents on that computer, I can't have access to it anywhere else. And I don't know where I might be the next day. I might have to do an emergency, go teach for somebody or cover for somebody. And if I grab my laptop and head out, I might not have the file that I'm looking for. So that's the reason why I store everything in OneDrive. Now, I will also show you some easy ways to get content to OneDrive. Believe it or not, OneDrive is incredibly easy to manage just from the desktop. Another benefit of OneDrive is in cloud storage is that there is file protection built in. And this is probably the biggest one out of all of these, is that every time my file is changed or updated, it doesn't throw out the old one. So for instance, when you have a file stored on your desktop, if you open the file from your desktop and you make changes, you hit the save button and you close the application, that's it. That's the new file. There's no going back from there. You can't open the file and undo because it only does that while the file is currently open. So that could be a problem, right? That's also a problem we ran into with network drives. So I don't know if any of you have like an F drive or J drive or something like that in your company, which is basically just network storage. The problem with that is, anybody in the organization could potentially access that file. And if they access the file and make a change or even move the file, you're in big trouble. You kind of lose track of it. It becomes very difficult to manage. So it's really nice to have OneDrive. SharePoint on the other end here is really, it's in the name, share. So SharePoint is a collaboration tool. So that means I have many people working together to get things done, whereas OneDrive is my own personal file storage. So if there's a file added to a SharePoint site, that means anyone who has access to that site has access to that file and has access to edit the file. It also allows us to simultaneously edit if we want to. So some cool benefits there. Last note here is you can share files out of OneDrive, and I will show you how to do that. You can also do it through Outlook, which is what we're going to get to. But I'm going to go ahead and present this from that workflow. So here's the workflow, guys. In Office 365, I work in a SharePoint with my organization. And in that SharePoint, I'm working on a project, and there's a project folder I want to get a file into. However, I don't want to just go to SharePoint and put the file there. The reason is because I'm drafting the file right now. So I don't want to just put the file in SharePoint as I'm creating it, because it might take me a week to create it. So if I put it in SharePoint today, I might have people trying to go into the file and look around, and then I might get messages like, hey, where's all the info, when I haven't even completed the file yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out just by putting the file in my own personal OneDrive. Okay, so I'm going to go to my OneDrive right now. As soon as I go to my OneDrive, I don't have any files stored in here just yet, but you're going to see how easy it is to use OneDrive. If you look at the top, there's a new button. So if I wanted to create a new folder, I could do that. If I wanted to create a new document right from here, I can do that, and we'll do that in just a minute. I can also upload from my computer, and this is what I really love about OneDrive. Not only can I upload individual files, but I can upload entire folder trees. So that means not just one folder and some files. It could be a folder that has files and subfolders, and then there's subfolders of those subfolders, and so on, and there are files everywhere. Yeah, that would take a little bit longer to upload, but still, I have the ability to do that, which is really cool. The other two buttons in the top, I'll talk about in just a minute. The first thing we're trying to do is just get a file here. So if I wanted to get a file from my computer, I would go to Files. It would open up my normal file explorer. I could browse my computer for files. I've got a file here, an Office 365 file. So it's a PowerPoint file. So I'll select that and click Open. It says uploading one document. And if I click here, I can see the progress. It's already uploaded, so I'll close out of that. It takes a second sometimes for it to refresh, but it refreshed right here. And here's my file. So it was very easy to get my file into OneDrive. All right, so I have my file ready to go. I'm working on it here. You know what? Maybe I need to create a new file. So let's see what creating a new file looks like. When I click the New button, I'll create a new Word document. And once I click onto that, you'll see it opens up a new Word document. And look where it took me. It took me to Word in the web browser. Now, this is not a standard behavior. It could also go to the desktop. It really depends on your organization. They'll actually flip a setting where it could go one place or the other. But it's not a big deal for us as end users, because here's what we can do. If it opens up in the web app, which you can see now I'm in the Word web app, you'll notice that it's laid out just like the desktop app. I've got a Home, Insert, Layout, and References tab. It's also using something called the simplified ribbon. If I turn off simplified ribbon, you see it really does start to look like the Word desktop application. Okay, you can see I've got like the full ribbon up there. But here's what I want to show you about the web app, and then I'll show you how to send it to the desktop app. The web app saves automatically. So as I start working in the web app, you'll see it says saving saved up here. It does it really quick. Okay, saving save. So it does auto save for you. The document name right now is just called document because I created it natively in OneDrive. So I'm just going to go ahead and click up there, and I'll name this one Project Word Doc. So I know what it is. Okay, perfect. All right, and then it's auto saved. I know it's good to go. If I check back in my OneDrive now, you'll see it's already there. The name will update in a second because I just changed it. There you go. It just updated. So you can see it's all kind of working together right now, which is pretty cool. But let me take this in the web app, and I'm going to send it to the desktop app. So in the event you end up in one of the web apps, it's pretty easy to get to the desktop. You just say, open in desktop. And all you have to do is click that. It might ask you, is it okay if I open Word on your computer? I'm going to say yes, and now you can see it's opening up Word on my computer, and it's connecting me to that exact same file. It's also set up to autosave now here. Okay, great, autosave is on. If I don't want autosave for whatever reason, when I'm pulling from the cloud, I can flip that little switch there if I need to. Okay, but let's go ahead and show you how this works. So I'm going to highlight that text. I'll make it red, and I'll make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. So it saves automatically. It is saved. I can now X out of this, which will take me back to the web app, and I can say resume editing here, and you should see that text change. There you go. So that is the beauty of Office 365, is that everything's working together. Really, you're just clicking a button to tell it what you want to do, and it does it seamlessly. There's no extra signing in or any of this other crazy stuff we might have had to do in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and X out of it here, and I know it's updated in my OneDrive. Okay. If I need to get back in and edit it, I can just click right on the name here. You'll see that it takes me back into this Word web, and then I can add more text. Okay, and then again, it auto saves. When I'm done, I just X out. Perfect. So I know that's updated. Now, I know what you're thinking at this point because it's what I was thinking when I first started using OneDrive, and that's, well, okay, cool. I guess it's neat that I can put files on the internet, but still, if I need to get to them, I've got to go to Office.com. I've got to sign in. I've got to click this OneDrive thing. Then I'm over here. Then I got to click something to go and edit it, and it just seems like a lot of extra steps. It's really not that complicated. Pretend I don't have a web browser open at all. Okay, so now we're just looking at the desktop here. Oh, geez, I got so much stuff open here, guys. There we go. All right, and I want to just create a Word document. I'm not worried about the cloud. I'm not worried about anything else. I just want to make a Word or Excel document. So I'm going to go into my list of apps here. I'll go to E. We'll make an Excel file. Okay. So Excel is opening up right now. I've got Excel ready to go. I'm going to create my new Excel spreadsheet. Here it is. Okay. And now I want to save it. When I go to File, Save, look at my option. It's already set up. I'm also connected to my SharePoint. I could potentially save it there, which we'll do in a minute. But yeah, I'm going to say, yeah, let's save it to my OneDrive. Okay, well, here's your OneDrive. We don't have any extra folders for you to put it in. There's no really other location. You know what, let me make a change to that. Let's go back to OneDrive for a second. Let's make a new folder. I'll call this Old Files, because I don't know what else to call it right now. So we'll just call it that. Now I've got an Old Files folder. Let's go back to Excel. That's what I was working in. I'll switch away for a second, because I need it to update. Let's go back to File, we'll go to Save, I'll go to OneDrive. You can see now it checks back, and there's that old file folder I just connected to, or just created. So see how awesome this is? I don't really have to, it's not like OneDrive is that far away, because it's really not. It's like right here the whole time. So we'll go ahead and just save it into the old files folder. I'll call this one Roster. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. Saves right to the OneDrive. It's done. Now it tells me, oh, we're synced up because we're connected to the cloud. Auto-saving is now ready to go for you. Okay, cool. And versioning is going, and all those other benefits I talked about. All right, so I'm going to exit out of Excel. Now it's tomorrow, and I want to work on that Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to open up Excel again. I don't have a shortcut. This is a new desktop here, so it's got all the normal Windows stuff. But anyways, when I go to it here, take a look. There's the file, and it tells me where it's from. OneDrive, Old Files folder. When I click on it, it just goes to the web, grabs that file, and pulls it into the desktop app for me. Awesome. So easy to use here, right? All right, let me close out of that. Let's go back to OneDrive. Okay. In OneDrive now, maybe I need somebody's help with the file. So I want somebody to work with me on the file. You can share files out of OneDrive. So if I hover over a file here and I click the little checkbox, it gives me different options at the top. So I could open where I want to, so in the desktop app or the web browser. I've got a button here to share it or copy a link for sharing, download, delete, rename, move, copy. There's this thing called flow, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then I've got more options, which is that version history I was telling you about. Anyways, let's select this. I'm going to click share. It's going to pop open this little window, which is actually Outlook. I'm going to be sending an Outlook email right from here. I can choose the link properties. So I did that kind of quick. But at the top, when you click share, this is the link properties currently. The send link is going to be available for anyone with the link can edit it. That means if I say yes to this and I get the link, I can share it all with you in chat in our training session, and you can go in the same file with me. We'll test that out in just a second. But I'm going to click the drop down here and just show you your other options. I could say only people in my organization who get the link can edit. People I've already given access to, I can tweak their access right here. Or I just want to share with very specific individuals. This is the most common way you're going to go, to be perfectly honest with you. You're going to say just share with specific people. So I've got specific people selected there. And then you can choose whether or not you're going to allow them to edit. Okay, so if it is checkmarked to allow editing, they will be editors. If I remove that checkmark, it'll be read only. And then I can also disable the ability for them to download their own copy. So you've got some really neat controls here. It's very easy to set up. Okay, specific people apply. Now I just type the name of the people that I'd like to make sure that they can, to make sure that I have the correct access for these people. So these are all student accounts because this is a trial account here. But you can see I can just start typing a name and it will populate the address book for me, and then I can select the name. So student 18 twice. What are the odds of that? All right, student 14. There we go. And then I can type a message if I want. It's optional. And then when I'm ready, I'll hit the send button. And when I do that, they're going to get an email saying the following file has been shared with you. And then it'll have a link to the file, whatever it is. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'll send that to them. It says sending mail right now. Okay, link has been sent. So they'll get that in their inbox in just a second. And let me show you what that'll look like, actually. So let me go to the Outlook web app for a moment. Okay, it's telling me that the file has been shared and who I shared it with. Great. When somebody shares it with me, let's see if I have one. Major updates. This person shared a file. So you can see this is what the email will look like that they get, right? There's a file for you. You can click right here to open it. Now, while it's great that you're going to get an email, you're going to lose track of that email within an hour, right? Because you're going to get so many other emails. So let me show you a neat thing you can do in OneDrive. In OneDrive on the left-hand side, you have a button called Shared. It shows any files that have been shared with you. So if somebody shares a file with you, they'll be in this list. Any files you've shared out will be right here. So there's any file I've shared out. Perfect. Also, in my normal file list, it'll tell you private, just me, and then this one's shared. Okay. So I shared the file out with everybody as editors. Let's share another one. So I'm going to go into the old files. I'm going to select this Excel spreadsheet. Okay. And then I'm going to click share. I want to do that. It's going to be for anybody. I'm not going to send an email. I'm just going to copy the link to my clipboard. There we go. It's copied to my clipboard. And then I'm going to share it with you. One last little note about sharing, guys. If you want to share many files, you can share a folder instead. So instead of sharing one file at a time, if you select the folder, which would be the parent of the files, you could say share this folder, and then all the subfolders and files of that will be shared along with it. All right, everybody, if you are feeling pretty froggy here like I am, let me go ahead and just put this link in. Go ahead and click that link, and you will be able to edit this file with me, even though you are not in my organization. I had a link for anybody to come in and share. So if you are feeling brave, click that link. It'll open up a web browser tab for you, and then you can jump into this Excel file and you can try typing in any cell. Might take a second. It might ask you to put in an email address or a name. We'll see. There we go. Oh, here we go. Now it's just updated. So here's everybody working together. Yeah, feel free to select any random cell. And you can see it says GC for me. It says guest contributor. So guest contributors are obviously people outside the organization. If it were people in the organization, I would see everybody's name. So I'd know who you are, okay, which is kind of cool, right? So I'd be able to communicate with you and collaborate with you within this file. Now guys, don't forget there's file protection built in. So I've let a lot of you into this file and we're all doing all sorts of crazy stuff right now. But I know that my file is safe because every time there's a change made, it's making a different version for me, which I can always roll back to a different version if I need to. Okay? Cool. So this is simultaneous collaboration. This is what you can do with SharePoint, but I'm showing you that you can also do it with OneDrive. Okay? So if you share files out with specific people in your OneDrive, you all can work together. Okay? Perfect. All right, go ahead and X out of that tab when you are done editing because don't forget it is auto-saving for you. So just go and X out when you're ready so you can come back to my presentation here. So switch back to that window so you can see what we're doing here. One note on that, guys, sometimes organizations block the anyone can edit because they don't necessarily want files to be available to anybody who gets the link. So just a heads up on that. You may see that grayed out at your organization. When I share mostly, I usually go with specific people, just so y'all know. All right, so I've given everybody access to the file. What if I wanted to change access to the file? If you remember, I gave the access to student 18 and student 14 to my project Word document. What if I want to change that? Well, if I want to change that access, I select the file that's already shared, and I click the share button again. And you can see there's a share button up top. There's also a share button right here. You can right-click. You can click the three dots, whatever you want to do. Okay, it's all over the place. But when I click share again, it's going to say, well, you already have a link ready to go. So I just want to manage the access. So I can click the three dots right here for more options, and then I can select manage access, which will pop open a panel on the side. A quick shortcut is you can also just click the word shared over here. It'll open up that same panel. Okay. Now this shows me that there is an edit link available. So if I want to make more people editors, I could copy this information and share it with somebody. I could also click this little arrow and see who has access. And if I don't want somebody to have access anymore, I can click the X to remove access entirely. Now, this is an edit link. What if I wanted to keep the people, but make it read only? Well, then I just go in line with the link, click the three dots, and then I change the link properties to view. And then when I click save, it'll say, do you want to do it? Yes, I want to do it. And once I do that, it'll take a second to update here. But then when I go back to manage access, just hanging up here. We got a lot going on the web here. You can see now it's updated the link that says people you specify can view. So it's really, really easy to manage access. If you wanted to revoke access entirely, I could just say stop sharing entirely. And then you'll see what happens here. It just removes basically the people. It'll take a second. But that'll all be removed and the access has gone back to private here, which you can see. So when I close out of that, if I try going back, it'll be private. It's not shared with anybody. So how cool is that, guys? Think about that. If I have a project file, and again, I don't want to put it in SharePoint yet, because if I put it in SharePoint, it's going to be available to everybody immediately, and anybody will be able to go in and start looking around and doing whatever they need to. I'm trying to draft the file to get it ready to publish. So I started in my OneDrive. I showed you a bunch of ways to get files to OneDrive, so you can see it's very easy to do. And while I was in my OneDrive, I needed a little help from you guys, so I changed the link properties so that it's shared. So I shared the link out with you guys so we can all work together. So now we're in the last stage of this. I'm ready to publish my file. I want to move my file out to OneDrive or to SharePoint so it's published for everybody. So give me 1 second. Let's talk about something else real quick. I've mentioned versioning before, so let me go back into our Excel spreadsheet and select it. Up at the top, going across, there's this three dots, and that is where I can view the version history. There's all the versions that have been created since I initially started the file, and then we were all in guest contributing. Okay. So it doesn't necessarily save after every immediate change, but it will save in kind of groups, essentially. All right, so I'm going to X out. Oh, just so you know, so if I hover over it, I could restore that as the current version, open the file to compare it to the other files. They give you an option to delete versions. I would never find a need for that. Most companies have a retention policy where, it'll delete previous draft versions after, like 90 days or something like that. So you don't really need to worry about that so much. All right, so let's move this guy. So I've got the file selected. I am ready to move this to SharePoint. Actually, I'm going to go with that Word document just in case. So I selected the file here. Up top, to move it to SharePoint, I just click the Move button. And then it says, where? Do you want to move it within your own OneDrive, like your own folders and stuff? Or do you want to move it somewhere else? Let me click Move to again, like one of your SharePoint sites. So I have a SharePoint site called Directions Training Main, and let's go to that for a second. So I'm back in the Office 365 main screen. You guys could click the waffle too, by the way. It's called the waffle. or the app launcher, whatever you want to call it. I like waffles, so we'll call it waffle. When you click that, you can see you can very quickly switch between any of the Office 365 apps you're in. If you do click Office 365 at the top, it does take you back to this screen if you need to be there. Anyways, I'm going to go to the SharePoint app. SharePoint is sites. So SharePoint is usually a collection of sites. And it's for collaboration, like I mentioned. So this is free collaboration. I don't have to worry about sharing and not sharing. If I put something in SharePoint, it's available to everybody. So I'm going to go to the Directions Training main site because that's the all company site. And once I access that, you can see I've got access to additional sub-sites from here. So these might be like department sites like IT or HR or sales or whatever. Okay. Now in the top site, which is our DTC main site, I want to move the file from my OneDrive to the project files library. And you see there's nothing in project files just yet, so I'm going to move it over. So I'm going to go to my OneDrive. Once I'm in my OneDrive, I'm going to select the file I want to publish to SharePoint. Once it's selected, up at the top, I'll click Move To. And then once I do that, I pick the SharePoint site I want it to go to. So these are all sites I usually access. DTC main. Here's the 2 document storages in that site. I'm going to say Project Files. There are no subfolders, but I can create one if I need to. And when I'm ready, I'll click Move Here. And when I do that, watch what happens. It says Moving one item to Project Files. Okay, and once it happens, it'll tell me. So here's what's really happening. It's making a direct copy of this file and putting it into SharePoint. Once it confirms that the file is there, it then removes my copy in my OneDrive. Okay, cleared out. Awesome. And now if I go back to DTC main, there's the file. So that is an excellent workflow for you guys for understanding how to use OneDrive and SharePoint together. And we saw how Outlook is kind of tied in because when we do a shared link, it does go through Outlook and we can access it through Outlook. But I want to show you something else with Outlook. Let's take a look. Somebody just posted a question, so let's see what the question is. Can you copy to a SharePoint folder versus moving the file? Absolutely. So if I go back to my OneDrive here and I select this, I just click onto copy to instead of move to. But let's think about the reasoning behind that. Do I want to move the file or do I want to copy the file? Well, I don't know. I mean, there's not a right or wrong answer there. I personally am trying to get away from having multiple copies of things all over the place because we start to really run into trouble with that. Because even though it's in SharePoint now, well, I have my own version on my OneDrive. So who's to say that I don't keep working on that one, right? And then all of a sudden there's people working in the SharePoint one, and now we don't know which one's which anymore. And then maybe I become more reliant on my OneDrive and I stop paying attention to SharePoint. And now I'm really just kind of working in my own little bubble here, which is OneDrive. So I don't recommend that because don't forget, as soon as you move it over, it moves it to SharePoint, but I still have all those versions built in. So I really don't need a backup of the file because the file itself has already got a backup built into it. So that's one thing that I encourage you also to kind of get away from is stop trying to have files in multiple places. Try to just let one file exist and manage that one file accordingly. Okay, so that's just my recommendation for you. But again, it's not right or wrong. It's just trying to use the cloud correctly and trying to make sure that there's only one version of the file out there moving forward, or one copy of the file, I guess I should say. That's a reason why we don't want to email files anymore, guys, because you know what happens if we email a file. If I go into Outlook here and I say, all right, let's go ahead and create a new email. Oh, and I need to get that file from somebody. I'll click Attach File, and then I'm going to attach the file from my computer. Oh, but wait, I need the file from my OneDrive. Oh, well, that means I've got to go to OneDrive, and I've got to select a file and download it, and then attach it and do all this stuff. You don't have to do that, guys. So when I create a new email here, you click Attach File. It's already got web files for me. These are files that are only stored in the cloud, and I can share this way too. I can also say Browse Web Locations, and here we go. I need a file from my OneDrive. Okay, give it a second here. It'll pop up. Which file from your OneDrive? Well, old files, I need the roster, insert. And when I do that, it says, do you want to share a link to it? Which will do exactly what we just did in OneDrive, where I click share and I set it up. Or I could attach a physical copy if I wanted to. But again, that means that there's going to be more and more copies out there. So I'm going to say send a link. And you see, there it goes. And it says, this is a share link, just like a regular OneDrive share link. You guys can simultaneously edit when you send it out. So there you go, guys. Again, everything's kind of connected together. It's working really, really well these days. And I want to show you one more thing with OneDrive and SharePoint. My OneDrive is pretty important. So I'm going to go back to my OneDrive. I like the app. It's got a nice interface. It's pretty easy to follow, but sometimes I don't want to log into the web to get to OneDrive. Now, I know that I could access it through the apps like I just saw, but it really doesn't show me everything how I want to see it. So that's why you have an option up top here called Sync. I had to deselect my file because when you have a file selected, you have properties for that file. So I deselected. Now I've got properties for the container, which is OneDrive, and there's a button up here called Sync. When you click Sync, look how awesome this is. When I click Sync, it says, we'll sync this to your local machine for easy access. Do you want to open the OneDrive app on your computer to allow this syncing to take place? Now take a look, guys. I have OneDrive right here. However, this is not my work OneDrive. This is the OneDrive that comes with Windows 10. So if I click on this, it says, okay, cool, let's sign in with an email address. Don't do it that way. Okay, here's what you're going to do instead. Go to OneDrive like I just showed you. Once you're in your OneDrive, click Sync. Click Open. Okay, it may ask you to re-authenticate, so it's already got my username in there. I'm just going to say, yep. It may ask me for my password one more time. Actually, it didn't ask me for it, so I can click Next. And now it's saying we're syncing everything up. We're ready to go. Now it acts like a normal folder on your computer. Great, thanks OneDrive. I'll close out of this one too here. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to my desktop. And I'm going to open up my File Explorer. And when I do that, notice now it says OneDrive DTC. And when I click that, it's all the content just like it's on my computer, but you can see it's actually in the cloud. Okay? That just means it's stored currently in the web. Now, what if I lose my internet connection? What happens? If I lose my internet connection, I will not be able to access these files because you see it's stored only in the cloud. However, if I open up one of these files, you're going to see a little syncing icon and then a green check mark. What that means is that it's created a local copy on my computer for offline editing. Let's take a quick peek. Somebody messaged me something. Can you review that one more time? What about drafts and SharePoints and then publishing later? Okay, I'll address those two questions here. So for syncing, you need to go to OneDrive and just click Sync. It'll say, we'll sync your computer for easy access or sync to your computer for easy access. You just say open in OneDrive. And then it'll open in the OneDrive app that's a part of Windows 10 or install it if you're using an older version of Windows. And then what you'll see is when you open up your normal File Explorer on your computer, you'll see OneDrive and the company name usually, and that's your content. That's your OneDrive. So I can create a folder here also if I want to. New folder. Okay, I'll call this one Made on PC. Okay, it's syncing to the cloud. Gives me a green check mark because this one was made locally, so I have a local copy of this. I have an offline copy of that as well. Again, anyone that has a cloud icon is just stored in the web right now until you open it up, and then it'll create a local copy. So the beauty of that is it's not syncing all your OneDrive to your local machine, and it's going to take up a bunch of space. It's only syncing up the ones that you need at any given time. Okay? All right, so let me go back to the OneDrive app. Close out of this thing. Okay, it needs to refresh here. I'll just force it. But once it refreshes, you'll see the Made on PC folder that I just made in my File Explorer. So syncing's great, guys. I would recommend that. It just gives you quick access to your OneDrive and quick management to your OneDrive. You can also do that with SharePoint sites. So this SharePoint library is a library I work with all the time. I'm in the DTC main of SharePoint, right? I'm in the project files library. And when I'm ready, I can sync this library now. Okay, we'll sync that too. Great. Let's open with the OneDrive app. See, it's happening right now. And now when I open my File Explorer, take a look. It says DTC right here. Project files, and there's all the project files. I'll make another folder here that does the same thing. Made on PC. Okay? And now when I go back to SharePoint, close out of that, we'll refresh. There you go. Okay? So that makes it really easy to manage this. Take a look. I'm going to move a file from OneDrive to SharePoint just using my File Explorer now. So open up another instance of File Explorer. Okay, I'll set one to my OneDrive. So here's all my files in my OneDrive, and I will set one to the SharePoint, which you can see right here. I will move the Office 365 offer from my OneDrive to the SharePoint. And as soon as I drag and drop, okay, it's moving to my SharePoint. Okay, when I go back to SharePoint now, you can see it's right there. Guys, that's awesome. That is so cool. I know a ton of questions came in. I expected a bunch to come in because there's a lot of cool things that just happened right there. OneDrive sync client, files on demand. It seems to be like disabled, like this. Oh, okay. OneDrive Sync Client Files on Demand settings. Seems like disabling this is the preferred option if you have plenty of local disk space available. So that might be a message that somebody's just sharing. What if you're working with a file from OneDrive and lose internet connection? Well, if you're working on it either in the web browser or in the desktop app, you'll be able to keep editing. It won't be a problem. However, it's not going to save and update until you get internet connection again. Okay. But if you have a synced version on your computer, I could just save to the synced copy on my computer, and then as soon as my internet connection is reestablished, it'll check to see if this is a newer timestamp and make that the current version. So that's kind of important. How to turn off files on demand. Okay, hold on. And I can be, yeah, you can absolutely be in the middle of the desert or the ocean or stranded on a desert island, and you can edit your files. And then as soon as you get internet connection, it'll all sync back up. Exactly. Perfect. All right. So there is a OneDrive app here, guys. Let's get to that on the desktop computer. And then I'll probably stop our training at that point because that's all the content I wanted to cover and see if there's any additional questions we have. So let's forget about the web apps for a second. I've been working in the this app. So let's go to our Excel roster spreadsheet. If I want to share it from my computer now, I'm not in the OneDrive web app. How do I do that? Well, just go to the file on your computer in the OneDrive folder, right click on it, and you're going to see a share button right there. As soon as you click share, it is the exact same thing we just saw in the web app. Okay? So I love that. Guys, if you have been using Office 365 for a while, especially for a couple years, you notice that it's actually working how it should have from the beginning. Okay? For those of you that I had experience years ago with like OneDrive or even SkyDrive when it was called that, it didn't work all that great. It did get the job done, and yeah, the fundamentals were there. But nowadays, I can't believe how easy it is and how everything is just working together so perfectly. Also, guys, if you do have a file shared from your OneDrive on your local machine, it will show the cloud and the person, or the green check mark on the person if it's shared. So how do I manage my OneDrive app? How do I manage what's synced to my computer? Well, you have a OneDrive app down here. If I right-click on it, it'll open up the properties for me, so I can see the files, open folder, view online to go right to the web app. 3 dots is more options. When you click that, that's this little menu that came up here, okay? Open your OneDrive folder, which is what I'm already in. Open your SharePoint folder, I'm already in there. Settings, view online takes you to the web. Pause syncing. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you can pause syncing if you need to. Manage storage is here, help is here, feedback is here. So let's go into settings for a moment. Once I go into settings, I have settings here. Start OneDrive automatically when I log in. Pause syncing when this device is on a metered network, like a mobile network, maybe like a hotspot. Notifications, display notifications when people share with me, sure. So that'll be on your desktop computer, guys. This is all desktop stuff. Warn me before removing files from the cloud. Notify me when sync is paused. Save space and download files as you need them. So there's your little check mark. More info will open that up and just tell you more about that. But that's what I have checked. If I remove that check mark, it'll automatically pull everything from the cloud and make a local copy. Okay. Account is the account that I'm signed in with, and you can manage your storage right here. Again, that's going to take me to the OneDrive app. I'm going to close out of that for a second. You can also choose specific folders to sync or turn off syncing entirely down here. So here's my SharePoint and here's my OneDrive. Okay. I can say choose specific folders. Maybe I don't want to sync the old files. I don't really need that. So again, remove that. It says, well, hide those on your PC. I don't know if you saw that message. And then I'll click OK. Okay, now you can see that folder is not visible. It actually removed it from my computer. So it's not taking up that storage. So guys, you're not stuck. I mean, you're not stuck at any time. Just because you have a local copy right now and it's taking up a lot of space on your computer doesn't mean you can't go into the app settings and choose on demand. You know, maybe I want to start syncing this again. So I just check mark it and click OK. Now it's back and it'll make a local copy if I allow it to. Okay, so it's pretty easy to manage. Can you add additional SharePoint sites to sync from OneDrive? Yes, you can. You can have as many things here as you need. If you have a personal OneDrive account, you can go to your personal OneDrive account and sync that. And then it'll say OneDrive and your email address, your normal private email address. And if you have another SharePoint site that you go to, or another library, it'll say, instead of project files, it'll say regular documents or whatever. So it'll tell you the site and the storage. So let's do that real quick. I'll go to SharePoint here. I'll go to one of the subsites. I'll go to my subsite. Okay, I'll go to my documents in here. Okay, and I'm going to sync this library now to my computer so I can easy access this one. Okay, ready to go. You can see that's all you need to do. And now, let me cancel out of the options here. When I go to DTC OneDrive, or I'm sorry, not OneDrive, DTC SharePoint, here's the 2 sites and the specific library that I have synced up to my computer. So then you just go to the one you want and work on the files as you need to. How do I add the location from right here? I'm not sure in the question. Right here is as in where. I mean from OneDrive Sync Client, add a location. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I got you, Stan. So if you wanted to add a new location here, so let me go back into settings. I know there's a window in your way here, guys. So back into settings. Okay, once I go to settings, not add an account because that is the one account here. Oh, I mean, so you have to go to the app and click sync because that way it'll know which one you're syncing. Otherwise, without that, you'd have to do some crazy kind of voodoo here where you like type the full SharePoint link. Like I could edit this and I could say, you know, web instructor, DTC main project files. I can say, no, you know what, let's go to /Dan site, whatever the heck I called it. I think I called it Dan's maybe. That's not the address, but you get the idea. So yeah, it's just better to go to the sync button. It just makes way more sense. Okay. You could have it set up to automatically back up, and these are other options you can check out. I think we covered the main ones here that we had. All right, guys. So what my goal was to present you a workflow, an idea of how to use your OneDrive and SharePoint together. Also just seeing how we're connected to Office 365 the whole time, including our Outlook. And we're able to attach our cloud files very easily in Outlook now, whether we're using the desktop app or the web app, right? So it's all just kind of working together and doing its thing and making our life a lot easier. So if you have any other questions, guys, that is all the training content I have. But if you do have additional questions or something else you want to see, feel free to type it in the chat now. All right, everybody, it's been just about a minute. I haven't seen anything else come through. I'm going to wait just a couple more seconds here. If you do have something that you want to ask, go ahead and just start typing in the chat box so I can see somebody typing. If I don't see that in the next couple seconds here, I'll go ahead and end our session, all right? Thanks again, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your week.